Oh, I'm so happy to be using this source. From Gawker.com.
Snap.
I love it. Gawker, as you may know, is back for like the second time, I think. Or like, you know, it's Hulk Hogan, Peter Thiel, lawsuit. Gawker collapses. It tries to relaunch. It fails. It relaunches again. Gawker, of course, is mostly not great journalism. But I want to use this source because I find it to be just so funny. Gawker says, Rachel Maddow wards off disinfo with disinforming tweet. Glenn Greenwald is right about this one. I love that they're insulting Glenn Greenwald in this. They say, something has happened. A rare thing that used to happen all the time, but now arrives roughly every 18 months, like a solar eclipse. Glenn Greenwald has posted something factually correct and only minimally annoying. Specifically, yesterday he tweeted about the Rachel Maddow show. Rachel Maddow tweeted, quote, patients overdosing on ivermectin backing up rural Oklahoma hospitals, ambulances. Quote, the scariest one I've heard of and seen is people coming in with vision loss, he said. Glenn Greenwald says Rolling Stone has now issued a second update that effectively retracts its false story that gunshot victims are waiting in ER rooms in Oklahoma due to overflow from ivermectin poisoning. Yet Maddow still has her tweet up from 4 days ago promoting it with no subsequent note. Last week, the MSNBC pundit boosted a hoax story on ivermectin overdoses, joining a slew of liberal media outlets in mindlessly digesting the disputed news in another stern missive about COVID-related disinformation. In her rush to warn viewers of the dangers of misinformation, she did not have time to fact check. Oh, that's a bit generous. Like she ever does. Come on. Unlike several other outlets, Maddow still hasn't deleted, updated, or clarified the error. The original story came from a local NBC affiliate. All right, so let's break this one down really quickly. A doctor says he was misquoted. He wasn't saying that all of these hospitals were overflowing the beds. He's saying there were sometimes that there were some congestion, and some of it was because one guy may have taken too much ivermectin. They ended up issuing, the Northeastern Health System, Sequoia, ended up issuing a statement saying the guy doesn't work for us. We have not treated anybody for ivermectin. The story is fake news. And yet, Rachel Maddow still has it up. Now, here's what I love. Hey, good job, Gawker. I don't know why they're insulting Glenn Greenwald. He's right. You don't got to... Sure, I guess they're trying to be edgy. But I'll tell you this. If Gawker can come back and insult people they don't like and whatever, but still be correct, I welcome it entirely. By all means, they can call Glenn Greenwald every name in the book. That's wonderful if the facts are true and correct. Now, what I'll say about this is, my friends, I have seen stories and heard anecdotes of people eating this horse paste stuff. Don't do that. Because what people... Here's the problem. The stuff from the store that people don't understand, it's this tube is for a 1,250 pound horse. What they're saying, what this doctor is saying is not that, you know, all ivermectin is horse dewormer like the media is doing. They're saying some people went to Tractor Supply, bought this stuff, ate a whole tube that was meant for a 1,250 pound horse. That's insane, right? And then they get sick because of it. Now, I don't know exactly what's happening after the fact. They're saying people get vision loss and there's some crazy stories. But I got to tell you, it's really hard to believe some of the over-the-top stories because of how much the media's lied, how much we've heard from like lying nurses. There was one nurse who was like, someone came in, held my hand and said, I wish I had been vaccinated before they passed. And I had to tell his family. And then someone looked up that there was like no one in these age groups who had died in these hospitals. Like a lot of these stories are completely exaggerated. The problem is we got two things going on. The media is going completely over the top, calling all ivermectin horse dewormer, like when Joe Rogan says he's taking it. Clearly it came from a doctor. And they're conflating that with people eating horse paste. So then you get people on one side who are like, I tell you this, there are people who just adamantly believe ivermectin is this gift and it's great. And we don't really have we don't have good conclusive data on this right now. We've got some studies, some promising studies, some inconclusive studies, and a whole lot of me being like, yo, if I'm going to be honest with you, I honestly don't know. Brett Weinstein can say one thing, that's fine, but we just don't know. And so ultimately what ends up happening is you've got something that's not FDA approved, not FDA authorized. And there's a lot of arguments about why that is or isn't, but ultimately I defer to the slew of studies that have conflicting information. And then you get the culture war in this. Saying people who believing in ivermectin saying the media is lying, therefore it must be true. People on the left saying ivermectin is horse dewormer and mocking everybody, ignoring the actual nuance of the whole situation. And then YouTube banning people who dare talk about it. So at this point, I'm just basically like, yo, I don't even care anymore. Like, YouTube has gone so off the rails. They gave Crowder a strike for citing the CDC. I don't know how we navigate this other than just talking about it and just saying what we think.
I mean, this Oklahoma story in particular, because we just wrote a post about that at the Substack on Inquirer, and when you just get the details of the story, like if you read like the I don't know 5-sentence summary of it, it doesn't sound believable, right? Rural Oklahoma is being overwhelmed with gunshot victims, right. and those victims cannot get into the hospitals because so many people are taking this ivermectin, which is a drug that honestly most people probably have never even heard of. I mean, unless you're really plugged in and following all this, but I've never heard of it. And yet this story, not only did it get tweeted by Rachel Maddow, it got featured on Joy Reid's MSNBC show, The Rolling Stone, Insider. It was all over the place. Like, it was all over the world. It was viral. If you go to that hospital's website now, they have a huge splash page up that says, hey, look, we're taking people. We're not overwhelmed. Don't worry about being turned away, which is very important because rural hospitals are a real asset to those communities. You might have to drive 5 hours to get to another hospital because there aren't that many hospitals in these rural communities and rural areas. So actually, it's kind of a dangerous thing for people to believe that you can't get to the hospital.